So if you are not prepared, this is the time to prepare. Okay, you are running out of time, right? The last thing you want to do is applying for credit when you need it. You need to be using preventative maintenance. You don't put oil in your car when it's ran out of oil. You do these maintenance things all the time, so that way you don't have to get ready because you stay ready. Okay, you need to take your credit very seriously. Also, what I will tell you too is you really need to start building business credit ASAP, because the first thing they cut in when it comes to these type of times are they cut the personal lines of credit. They'll take a line that's 30,000, bring it down to 10, or they'll take one that's 10 and take it down to 2,500. If you're not utilizing your credit, you don't have a great relationship with that bank, they don't feel like you need it, they litigate the risk and they literally slash your lines. Okay, so you don't want to be in that situation where boom, you have a $30,000 line, you use $10,000, they bring it down to 12,000, your utilization pops up, you're screwed, right? So you really want to make sure that you're building out business credit. And the reason why you've joined this program really should be to use business credit, because that's the core of what we teach here is business credit. Because with business credit, it doesn't report to your personal bureaus. Okay, so you can max out business credit. It never hurts your personal credit whatsoever. They give larger limits on the business side. Whenever you're scaling a business, you should be using your business credit so that way you can write the interest off on your taxes, where you can't do that with your personal. Definitely check with your CPA. But I'm just telling you that the reasons are countless to be operating and moving out of business credit. The nice thing about Navy Federal is they do have business accounts. Okay. So they're also member owned, they're not for profit. So that's the difference between a credit union and a bank. A bank is for profit, a credit union is nonprofit, right? State Department's FCU, Penn Fed, Navy Fed, WECU, wherever, PSECU, all these credit unions are nonprofit organizations and they're member owned. So you're going to have the benefit of the doubt if you have a lower credit score. If you have a lower credit score, 660, 640, 630, there are ways that you can get approved for credit cards, lines of credit, loans, given you have a relationship with them. If they have deposits coming in, they see you in the branch, whatever the case is, if they look at your overall activity with their bank, with their credit union, and you have a lower credit score, they tend to give you the benefit of the doubt and give you the approval, even if it's lower limits, to let you prove yourself. Than with big banks. Big banks say, hey, listen, you're not adding anything to the table. We can't trust you. You don't fall on our bottom line. Denied. Okay. So big banks are great when you have business credit and you're really bringing in a lot of revenue. But when you don't have that, these credit unions are massive to you. Okay. So as of February 2022, Navy Federal has had 159 billion USD in assets and has 11.85 million members. Okay. They're the largest, the biggest, and the baddest. All right. All right. Give me 1 second. My computer's not working here. Give me 1 second here. Okay. So NFCU quick data points. $80,000 is the max exposure limit for revolving lines of credit on the personal side. Couples double up. We're going to talk about this hack later on in the presentation. So if Joe is married, right? He's got a beautiful bride out there in San Francisco, right? They're both Buckeye fans. Shout outs to the Bucks. We made the playoffs. Bring it, Michigan, bring it. Okay, listen, couples double up. Okay, so what Joe would not want to do is put his wife on his account. Why? Because then they both fall within this 80,000 max exposure limit. What Joe would want to do is he would have his own Navy Federal account. His wife would have her own Navy Federal account. Now they both can bring them together for 160 grand. Okay, if they both would qualify for that max exposure limit. On top of that, installment loans, there's actually not a disclosed or set max exposure limit. What is a max exposure limit? A max exposure limit is the amount that the credit union or the bank will lend you credit, how much they trust you with the credit that they have available to lend to you. Okay, so Navy Federal used to even be higher, but because of all of the YouTubers like myself and everybody else out there, the cat is out the bag, right? Everybody's going to Navy Federal. And there's a lot of things going on. Every time there's a loophole, they're being found out about and they're being exploited and people are taking advantage. And so literally they're cracking down on a lot. But the installment loans, we're going to talk about some different loopholes that are there for you to take advantage of. But the biggest thing to think about is when it comes to banking relationships, you do not want to be monogamous. Okay. You don't. You do not want to be monogamous with your banking. You want to literally bank with as many people as you can get, right? And on top of this, when it comes to this specific credit union, my strategy would be to have both partners have their own account, so that way they can level up these strategies and plays that I'm getting ready to show you guys. All right. All right. So how to join Navy Federal Credit Union? Well, we're going to talk about some ways here. First of all, they're meant to serve the military and the military families. Okay. So basically, I am a son of a Navyman. My dad was in the Navy, so I automatically qualify just by that. But parents, grandparents, spouses, siblings, children, including adopted and stepchildren, grandchildren. And this one right here, household members, is the hack that a lot of people don't tell you about. So if Eduardo never had anybody in the military and he lived with me as a roommate and he had something with his address, his name, and basically said, hey, I am a roommate of Dan. Here's his address. Here's my address. I want in. They would let him in based on household members. Basically, he's living with me. Okay. So what do they need for that? They need to have that the address matches your Navy Federal Credit address. So as you can imagine, that's the biggest hack that people get in about, because people magically have the address match the member's address, right? So a lot of people will try to sell you access codes and do things like this and give you their address and things like that. That is the hack, okay? That is what they do, is they're basically just saying, hey, listen, you can leverage my address. And that's how people are getting in that don't qualify under the family members route, okay? It's right there in writing, right off their website, household members. Doesn't have to be family, doesn't have to be blood. As you can see, children adopted, there's no blood relation there. Stepchildren, there's obviously a half thing there as well through marriage. So as you can see, it's right there on the website. That's the loophole that people exploit if you did not know. Active duty, retired, and veterans, okay? You got, it's pretty self-explanatory. Coast Guard's involved in that, National Guard, Space Force as well. And so you guys can kind of look into that as well. When you're applying for membership, okay, now I'll tell you kind of how I did it in a minute. It's really simple. You can call them over the phone anytime at night, okay? The cool thing about Navy Federals, they're open 24 hours a day, okay? So you can call them whenever you want to call them. I love that aspect. So if I'm in Asia, I can call them up and I can talk to them regardless of the night, because remember, they serve the U.S. forces, okay? Also, you're going to need to have your social security number. You're going to have your current home address, your driver's license, and then you can actually fund your account with a credit card or a bank account as well. So it's a quick way to do that. I believe that the limit with funding a Navy Federal account is $250. I could be incorrect on that. It could be $200, but it's along those rounds. That's another easy way to liquidate a credit card without having it code as a cash advance. So you could take any type of credit card you want, open up your account with a credit card. It won't code as a cash advance. All right. On top of that, what I did is when I called in, they actually didn't ask for any documentation that I was part of the military family. I basically said my dad was military. He was in the Navy. They never asked for his papers. They never asked me to send anything in. So they went right off my word. That was my experience. So many people asked me about that. Okay. There's also, I have a video on YouTube, many YouTube videos on it, entire playlist, secret ways to join Navy Federal Credit Union. You guys can watch that, smash the thumbs up button and kind of go through some of my Navy Federal Credit Union videos. My job here, my goal here is not to regurgitate things that have been on my channel, but to try to give you a step-by-step overview